There are 10 legendary and unique artifacts hidden around the map of Stalker 2, 6 of them being the unique arch artifacts, and 4 of them being plain old legendary artifacts that grant some of the best bonuses you can get in the game. First, let's start with the arch artifacts, the secret unique artifacts that you can only get one time at a specific location that offers some good bonuses, but also a lot of people don't realize that these also give you debuffs as well. So let's start with the weird bolt, because I, as well as a lot of people, were having trouble with it, but I figured out exactly what you need to do. First, you need to head over to the tornado anomaly located in Yaniv, near Yaniv Station, and the Spark Bunker. I started in the garage because of this guy's tip on one of my last videos where he mentioned this being the best place to start, and I do think it is the best place, at least if you're going to follow the parkour path inside of the tornado, how the game intends you to. But first things first, before you start or even come here, the thing I hadn't done during any of my failed attempts was pick up the PDA that you can loot off of the guy that comes flying out of the tornado when you first get here. The first time I came here, I didn't even know there was a guy that got flunked from it, but I came here on another save and he did. He should get flown to wherever you first arrive and approach the tornado, so where his body is just matters on where you were when you first got here for the first time. Picking up this guy's PDA seems to be what spawns the bolt in. The thing is, I couldn't find this guy's body on my main save. It probably despawned since I came here multiple times attempting to grab the weird bolt, but I did get it to spawn in on my main save by going back to an older save game, grabbing the PDA and then grabbing the weird bolt, then reloading back to that later save where I was then able to find the bolt first try. That cannot be a coincidence. I tried to get this thing many times on my actual saved game, including just minutes before I reloaded back to that old save. Once I picked up that PDA on an old save and found the bolt, I was able to find it on every other saved game that I have. So if your bolt will not spawn and there is no scientist guy's body containing the PDA that you can find, it's the PDA with the title of an anime, you might be screwed on your current save if you didn't find that unless you load a save from back before you first came here, find the PDA, then grab the bolt, then reload your furthest save and find it again. If you picked up the PDA, you should have this unfinished conversation note in your inventory. So if you don't have that note, you did not pick up the PDA. Again, I'm starting inside of the garage here, and it's up to you if you want to start in the eye of the tornado, which you can do by waiting in this garage until it passes over. But make a save before it gets there because this path can be a little annoying to follow. I've fallen off several times. Some of these crates are like a slip and slide when you jump on them, but just follow the parkour path that the game creates for you and just take your time. It gives you a ton of time to look around and maneuver yourself around, and it's better to sometimes just wait a minute so that you don't run into the tornado up ahead. At least up until the very last point where the tornado turns onto the crane. At that point, it really speeds up, so you want to sprint your butt off to get up there to the top, where you can then wait for the bolt to pop up on your right side. It comes from the same direction every time, where you can just spam the heck out of the pickup button, which is F on PC. Once you see the bolt, just start spamming that thing. The first time I saw it, it actually didn't even let me pick it up. It just passed on by, and it was probably the most painful part of the game for me after waiting so long to get my hands on it. If it does pass by, just load back to the save that you made before starting and do it again. You could also just simply not take the tornado, just go up the parkour pathway yourself, the same exact way that you did while in the eye of the tornado, and then you just wait for it to hit you at the top of the crane. Usually the tornado would smack me, like, you know, the outer wall of the tornado will hit you before you can go into it, but if you heal with a syringe like a fraction of a second before that brown outer wall hits you, you can completely bypass it. But let me know down in the comments if this helped you get the weird bolt, especially if you were having issues before. If you want a good buff to stealth, because even though the AI have been slightly fixed with that last update, they will still see you from a mile away. So you can get your hands on the Weird Flower, another arch artifact that you can get super early on in Stalker 2 that lets you become a lot more undetectable after sleeping. All of the other arch artifacts have hidden downsides, but this one doesn't. It's just that you have to lay in bed first. After you rest in your bed, the artifact will be fully bloomed and a much more colorful shade of blue, while it slowly withers away over time before you have to rest again. To get the Weird Flower artifact, like I said, you can get it really early on. You just need to come over here to the poppy field, and starting over here on the map, I'm standing next to this beaten up shack for reference, so you can just beeline pretty much straight ahead towards the side of the other rundown shack. That's where you can find the blue Weird Flower that is super easy to miss, even though it's the only blue thing out here in this giant red poppy field. You might want some energy drinks too, so you don't fall asleep during the little journey here. If you want something to quickly stop your bleeding, you can go with the Weird Nut. This makes it so that whenever you start bleeding, just a couple seconds later, you'll be completely fine. The downside is that when you use any healing items, they are less effective. They seem pretty much half as effective as normal. To get to the Weird Nut, you just need to head over here to the cooling towers at the Fire Whirl. And once you get to the Fire Whirl, guess what? It's a big fiery tornado, exactly what it sounds like. Heading from the road, if you're looking at the fire tornado, you can take an immediate right, where you will find a set of ladders. Climb up those ladders and just go the way that I go. You'll notice I start taking fire damage here. That's because this giant fire tornado goes through like different bursts of just spreading out throughout this little nuclear silo. So every, like, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute, it'll spread out, and you want to kind of hug the wall of the silo. Just go as far away from the fire tornado as possible up until that smoke clears. So like here I get to the bridge. I'm just waiting until it happens again so that it doesn't catch me when I'm in the middle of this walkway, because if I'm out there and the tornado starts spreading, you're kind of screwed. So just wait here, and then once it passes, you can just progress on. Once it stops trying to burn you, you can cross the bridge, hop on over through this like little parkour section. You might want to make some quick saves before you actually do this. And then off on the other side, I'm also going to wait one more time up until after the fire is done spreading, because I don't want to get caught right next to the fire tornado. Once that's done, just sprint pretty much directly toward the tornado. Just don't step on any of the orange highlight. Like, just stay in the shadows. And then as soon as you hop down, you should find the Weird Nut just kind of sitting there. It's extremely easy to miss. Just looking at this video, you can barely see it, but it's right there next to the tornado. Pick it up, and there you go. You can head on out. There's really not a whole lot to this one. I've seen some people say that it doesn't spawn for them. I don't know, there might be some sort of bug. Just make sure it's not actually there, though. You should just spam your pickup button as fast as possible. The weird pot automatically quenches your hunger and thirst. But if you have this equipped and you're wondering why you're all of a sudden seeing like those sigh hallucinations, that's why. That's really the only downside to it though. Once in a while you'll drink it and start hallucinating. To get the weird pot, you just have to head over here to the burnt forest, to possibly the creepiest location in the game, down towards the southern border of it, where you'll find just this thick fog. It's like a dome of just fog. You want to run straight into it, where you will find a little cabin. Really, you don't want to do anything yet, just run completely past it. You might find a bloodsucker here. I think there's a few of them actually. Just run past them into the fog. It doesn't matter which direction in the fog you go, just keep going. You'll find the cabin again, and if this like brick downstairs area doesn't have a brick archway over it, you want to go into the fog again. I think no matter what, you have to go into the fog for like a third time until you get this golden brick archway covering the staircase, where then you can finally go downstairs, and right under the stairs you will find the door key. Now just keep heading through the cave and into the actual house through the bottom of it, since you're sort of like in the basement of the house, like an underground little bunker area. If you come on out and off to the right, you can unlock this door by shooting it. Just shoot off the lock, open up the door, and over to our right we will find like a locked closet. There's nothing in here until you look up and you'll find a hole to the attic. Well, you can't really do anything with that attic yet. Instead, we're just gonna run outside of the house and back into the fog. Once you head into the fog for like the 4th time, you can come back to the house where everything should be reset. You can open up the door to that closet again, where now there will be boxes that you can hop onto in order to get up top into the attic. If you get into the attic and wonder where the heck the pot is, it's actually not in here at all. You want to shoot down these boards where you can then finally hop into that last and final locked room that you couldn't access before. Once you get down there inside of the furnace, you will find the weird pot. The weird ball is an artifact that will just straight up eat any incoming bullet damage while you're standing still, but it comes at a big cost, that cost being that it turns the damage into mass. The weird ball starts out at half of a kilogram, but as you take damage, expands all the way to 5 kilograms and gets heavier from each bit of physical damage that you take. After you get out of combat, the ball will start shrinking back down to its original half a kilogram size. You can get the weird ball just to the east of Zalicia in the Lesser Zone district at the Bulba Anomaly. This is that location with the giant water sphere that sucks all of its surroundings in. So you might want to make a save before you head in here, but the trick here is to just hide behind each of the obstacles like the nearby rocks and the vehicles until you make your way to the ball, which is just lying directly under the anomaly, which is kind of cool because it's like the ball is supposed to be like really heavy and it's the only thing not getting drugged into the anomaly. But just pause behind cover whenever it starts pulling in, and once you're behind the van and it pauses, just reach out from the front of the van and grab it. The artifact that I struggled with the most wasn't the weird bolt, but the weird water. And it is actually extremely easy to get. I wish I knew how to do it sooner. I don't care if you've already been here before and think it showed up the first time and then just despawned, or if you've been trying to get it for 3 straight days like I was, and you think you just can't. The way to get it to pop up is extremely simple. You need to come to the spawn location before the light anomalies spawn. That's it. Wait over here near the border like I go alongside the ridge line so that I can hang out around like the boundary, and then start looking once the green lights actually spawn, once it turns pitch black. There are 3 different spots that the weird water can spawn inside of this area. The one I usually get is here at the rock with the light that doesn't move and just stands there. Using this method to get it, I found the weird water in literally less than a minute. I came straight here and it was already here, and I've done it that way multiple times. The other locations that it can spawn are over here on a rock where you have to wait for the light to show up, and then the same thing over here, just wait for it to wander over onto this rock. If you think the game is bugged, you've tried over and over to get the weird water to spawn, I'll bet a dislike on it. Do this and it will work. Just be at the location before they spawn. And don't hang out at like the center, try to hang around the border. Don't get there at 9:50 and whatever else everyone says and has been saying. Say like, oh, you have to save at 9:50 and walk in at 10. That's not the case. Also, I've heard that you don't want to wear like armor that uses sea protection, whatever you call it. I was wearing the diamond exoskeleton when I did this and had no problems, but I guess that might be a thing. I was looking for the weird water for hours and thought my game was just bugged, and it probably is a bug, but doing this made it spawn in first try. Every single time afterwards, where I tried it on multiple different saves, including my main saved game, where I had already been here probably 100 times already. Just come into the area before they spawn to make sure you're actually in the zone where it goes pitch black, and that'll get it to pop. If this helped and you did get the weird water, leave it down in the comments. Also, I mean, if it didn't work, leave it down in the comments too. Okay, so for legendary artifacts, you can either hope to get lucky or farm for them. So certain types of anomalies will have a chance to spawn different types of artifacts, each of them pretty much being able to spawn its own legendary. Once you get about 100 meters from an anomaly that contains an artifact, it locks in the artifact that that anomaly contains. So you want to make a save before approaching that anomaly while you're more than 100 meters away. I do like 200. Then you can head towards the anomaly, find the artifact, and if it isn't the one that you want, just reload that last save and do it again. We'll also go over how to do it again in a minute. But also, emission storms apparently reset the artifacts in every anomaly in the zone. So if you obtained an artifact somewhere that you want to farm again, you should be able to get an artifact from that spot once an emission storm occurs. Our first legendary artifact is the compass. The place that I got the compass is at the Claw, located over in Zetan. It's sort of like at the center northern portion of Zetan. You come here for during like one of the optional objectives for the main quest. but you'll find a bunch of those like bubble anomalies, those ones that use like gravity to suck you in. This is where I got it the very first try. I didn't even need to farm this location. I came here and it gave me a compass. I've heard a lot of people saying that if you come to this location just barely to the west of the claw, like pretty much the same area, it's right there. It's like a little abandoned like camp area or town, little settlement. I've heard people say they got the compass there too. I say there's no freaking way because I farmed that area like 100 times, literally probably 100 times. However, at that little camp area in Zaton, you can get springs. Springs give you like a medium amount of carry weight. I think for me, they were giving me like 9 extra kilograms I could carry. Those artifacts are awesome. They're not legendary, but I would definitely stop by there and grab one of those. The compass gives you a maximum amount of physical protection, so an absolute crap ton of extra defense. This is one of the best artifacts in the game. The only downside is that it also gives maximum radiation, so you're going to want to have it in a lead container inside of your artifact slots. If you didn't know, a lead container is an upgrade you can get on different pieces of armor. They're marked with a green icon inside of your artifact slots. You'll see like a green glow inside of that slot, and you can upgrade those at a technician to unlock them if your armor offers it. You can also sort of counteract the radiation you get from legendary artifacts and artifacts in general with something like another artifact that offers radiation protection. Something like the liquid rock, which is another legendary artifact that gives maximum radiation protection as well as maximum chemical protection with no downside. You get 0 radiation from this artifact. There are 2 different locations I know of where you can farm for the liquid rock, what I've seen people get the liquid rock at. One of them being the poisonous hole, located at the most northern part of Garbage. It's almost towards the cooling towers in the Red Forest. But that is where I went to get it. So at the poisonous hole, just keep farming that location until you get it. But I've also seen people say that they get it over at the old mill. This is where you come during the main quest looking for that one guy, I forget his name. And you have to come down to this location during the story. This is that location that has like that first bloodsucker that's linked to a story mission. Originally when I played this game, I just ran past it. But if you're at the point where you can kill him, go ahead and kill him. Inside of this house here at the corner of town, like the northernmost building off to the right hand side of the old mill, you can head into that house and down into the basement that goes down to that like underground bloodsucker lurking area. Sprint past him if you want until you get over to the acid anomaly room, where there should be a chance for a liquid rock to spawn here. I have never gotten in here, but I have seen clips of people getting it. I'll link one down in the description in case you want to see that like one actually does spawn here, but I've never been able to get it to spawn. The Hypercube can also be found pretty early on, over just west of the slag heap. So like if you want, you could just save at the slag heap, then run over here. You don't have to go that far away, but if you wanted to play it safe, you could. But I think the location is called the Brood. If you come over here, you should get those like thermal fire anomalies that just start spitting lava at you. It took me probably 7 to 10 tries. I mean, it's just RNG, so it just really depends on your luck, how many tries it takes you to get the artifact. But after a few tries, I was able to get the Hypercube to pop out, which the Hypercube might be one of the best artifacts in the game. It's got maximum thermal protection and maximum bleeding resistance, which the bleeding alone is definitely worth it. The last one is the Thunderberry, which is also a phenomenal artifact to have because it gives you maximum endurance. And I think the only thing that annoys me more than being over encumbered and not being able to carry enough weight is having to constantly sprint and then regain my stamina while trying to travel around the zone. And the Thunderberry is pretty easy to grab. I did have some bloodsuckers at the location that you get it at. 3 of them actually jumped me, but you get it just to the southwest of the cooling towers. That's pretty much it. Leave a like and subscribe for more Stalker 2 videos.